Hey class, welcome to Chapter 8, Section 3. This is going to be a short one for you. We're looking at the election of 1800 and this idea of judicial review. So John Adams, he's served his term, as I mentioned last video. It wasn't real smooth, not a lot of highs, not a lot of lows, a fairly insignificant one. So when his re-election comes up in 1800, he's going to face, once again, his old nemesis, Thomas Jefferson. John Adams, of course, the Federalist still, Jefferson, the Democratic Republican. If you recall, Federalists have the support of the wealthy, strong national government, emphasis on manufacturing, British alliance. Jefferson, on the other hand, more of a rule by the people, by the farming class, strong state government, loved farmers, French alliance, strict interpretation. So when people came out to vote, they cast their votes for these men. Well, if you recall, in 1796, the second place person, Jefferson, became the vice president to John Adams. Well, the government tried to fix that, and they had each man select a person to run with them. And so Jefferson selects Aaron Burr, pictured over here on the left, and Adams is going to select Charles Pinckney, who we mentioned earlier. Remember the going over to France, negotiate a treaty with them. So these guys run. Jefferson for president, Burr for VP, Adams for president, Pinckney for VP. And the election happened, notice just like the last time, Jefferson had a strong showing in the South. Adams a strong showing in the North, but New York State is going to flop and change and go to Jefferson, giving Jefferson the election. However, this is where things get really crazy. The Constitution says that a person must have a majority of the vote to win the election, and while Jefferson gets 73, which is a majority, Aaron Burr also received 73 votes, pictured right here. The government didn't distinguish who you voted for. When you voted, it was kind of every man for himself. And so when the election got done, Jefferson and Burr were tied, and Adams got third place. Well, Aaron Burr, of course, should have said, well, I'll be the vice president. That's what I ran as, but Burr didn't. Burr said, this could be my opportunity to become president of the United States. And this causes a lot of confusion. The Constitution says the top three candidates, in this case, Burr, Adams, and Jefferson, would then go to the House of Representatives, and they would have to vote there to break the tie. 35 votes. We still have a tie. Finally. Some Federalists actually said, you know what, we're going to switch our votes to Jefferson because Jefferson's a lot better than having Aaron Burr as our president. So in the 36th vote, Jefferson is going to win the presidency. Aaron Burr becomes his vice president. But as you can imagine, he was not a very trusted vice president, and he'll do some pretty weaselly things coming up. So 1800, and going to the next chapter, we'll see the Jefferson presidency. Adams loses, and he'll return happily home back to Boston. And then I mentioned a key court case here. And the key court case is called Marbury versus Madison. Those two men are pictured down here. Here's Marbury, here's Madison. You've heard of Madison already, right? Father of the Constitution. John Marshall, pictured up here. He is the new Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, one of 9 judges, and he is Chief Justice. Well, in the Constitution, the Founding Fathers weren't so sure what to do with the judicial branch. But John Marshall is really going to give it some power, give it some strength through this ruling. We'll talk about this case a little bit more in class. But what I want you to really get out of this is just the significance of what he decided. And he created this concept of judicial review, where the Supreme Court would have a check on the legislative branch and on the White House. You see pictured here the judge. He has a final check on the Capitol and on the White House. And here's what he is checking. He's checking if the legislative branch or the executive branch does anything that is deemed unconstitutional. The Supreme Court can review it and either force them to stop doing it or throw out the law. That's called judicial review. It is their primary check of the other two branches, helping again to keep all of them working in check, keeping them working in balance with one another. And John Marshall, he's going to be the Supreme Court Chief Justice from 1801 to 1836, 35 years, known as the father of the Supreme Court, and he really gives the Supreme Court and judicial branch some muscle with this key decision in the case Marbury versus Madison, where he establishes judicial review.